He just climbed to #1 in the FedEx Cup standings. He ended an 848-day victory drought at Pebble Beach. He's playing some of the best golf of his life heading into the Masters. But when Collin Morikawa sat down at Bay Hill this week and was asked about his favorite Masters tradition, he let slip a confession that left fans laughing and then wondering. "I take their pencils every year," he said with a grin. "They have gone to longer pencils, so now I'm screwed." What sounds like a playful admission actually reveals something deeper about the 29-year-old two-time major champion, a relentless obsession with feel, with gear, with the tiny details that separate greatness from the pack. And this week, that obsession led him to a shocking decision that has fans scratching their heads. Subscribe for the full story of Collin Morikawa's unexpected move and what it means for the Masters. Collin Morikawa arrived at Bay Hill sitting in a position he hadn't seen in years, atop the FedEx Cup standings. A win at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am in February ended an 848-day drought and reminded everyone why he won 2 majors in his first 2 seasons on tour. A T7 at the Genesis Invitational, followed by a solo 5th at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, cemented his status as one of the hottest players in the world heading into the Masters. But numbers only tell part of the story. The real narrative is about a player who has completely reinvented himself. After a frustrating 2025 season where wins eluded him and questions about his putting mounted, Morikawa made a radical decision. He stopped trying to fix his swing and started fixing his body. Until November, December, when I said screw it, like I'm going to put every ounce of my energy into fixing my body instead of trying to fix the golf swing, Morikawa explained. The result? He's moving freely, waking up ready to play, and no longer hoping that the one swing thought is going to sync up with how the body's moving. The putting stats tell the story. After ranking 159th on tour early in the season with the flat stick, Morikawa has steadily climbed. His strokes gained approach the green numbers remain elite, 5th on tour, and his total strokes gained ranks 8th. The pieces are finally fitting together. But here's where it gets interesting. Despite all this success, Morikawa can't stop tinkering. And this week at Bay Hill, that compulsion led him to do something that left even his equipment reps shaking their heads. It started with a simple question at Bay Hill. A reporter asked Collin Morikawa about his favorite Masters traditions, the pimento cheese sandwiches, the azaleas, the green jacket ceremony. What followed was a moment that had fans laughing and shaking their heads in equal measure. "I take their pencils every year," Morikawa said with a mischievous grin. "They have gone to longer pencils, so now I'm screwed." The confession went viral instantly. Golf fans couldn't get enough of the image. A 2-time major champion, one of the best iron players in the world, sneaking pencils out of Augusta National like a kid shoplifting candy. But here's the thing about Morikawa. He wasn't just being playful. The pencil comment reveals something essential about his personality. He's obsessive about feel, about gear, about the tiny details that most players never notice. The pencils at Augusta have a certain weight, a certain texture, a certain feel in his hand. He's been taking them for years because they work for him. And now that Augusta has switched to longer pencils, his supply is dried up. It's a small thing, but for a player who built his career on precision, on controlling every variable, on being the best iron player in the world because he leaves nothing to chance, those small things matter. The moment went viral, and Morikawa leaned into it. "They used to be shorter," he explained. "I would take them and use them at home. I love those pencils. Now they're longer, it changes everything." Fans loved the honesty. Here was one of the most meticulous players in the game worrying about pencil length. It was relatable. It was human. It was a reminder that even the best in the world have quirks. But underneath the humor, there's a deeper truth. Morikawa's attention to detail is what makes him special. The same obsession that leads him to steal pencils from Augusta is the obsession that makes him one of the most accurate iron players in history. It's the same attention to feel that allows him to shape shots that other players can't even imagine. So when fans laughed at his pencil confession, they were also witnessing the engine of his greatness.
The man who notices the difference between a short pencil and a long pencil is the same man who notices the difference between a 5-iron that spins 50 RPMs too much and one that spins just right. That's Collin Morikawa, and that's why his next decision caught everyone off guard.
Fresh off his T5 finish at Bay Hill, with the Masters just weeks away and his game rounding into form at exactly the right time, Colin Morikawa did something no one expected. He made a significant change to his equipment. Not a putter switch, not a new driver, something far more personal, far more intimate to his game. Morikawa decided to change the grips on his irons. For most golfers, a grip change is routine. A few minutes with a hook blade, some solvent, and new rubber, and you're ready to go. But for Morikawa, who has built his entire reputation on precision iron play, this was a monumental decision. The grips on his irons are the only connection between his hands and the club face. They affect feel, feedback, and consistency. Changing them mid-season, especially heading into the most important stretch of the year, is the kind of move that most players avoid at all costs. But Morikawa isn't most players. According to sources close to him, the decision wasn't impulsive. Morikawa had been testing grip options for weeks, trying different textures, different thicknesses, different materials. The grips he'd been using for years had been discontinued by the manufacturer, and the replacements didn't feel the same. He could have stocked up on old grips, hoarded them like Augusta pencils, but that wasn't a long-term solution. So he made the call. New grips, new feel, new variable to master with the Masters on the horizon. Everything changes, one equipment rep explained. The thickness, the texture, the way the club releases through impact. For most players, it's a minor adjustment. For Colin, who feels everything so precisely, it's a major shift. Morikawa addressed the decision briefly at Bay Hill, downplaying its significance. It's just grips. I'll get used to them. It's not a big deal. But those who know him best know better. Everything is a big deal to Colin Morikawa. The man who steals pencils from Augusta notices when the length changes. The man who won 2 majors in his first 2 seasons built his game on millimeter precision. Changing grips 3 weeks before the Masters is the kind of move that keeps him up at night. Fans reacted with a mixture of concern and faith. Some worried that tinkering with success could derail his momentum. Others trusted that Morikawa knows his own game better than anyone. Either way, the decision was made, the grips are changed, and the Masters awaits. With the Arnold Palmer Invitational in the rearview mirror, the golf world's attention now turns to Augusta National. The Masters begins in less than 3 weeks, and for Colin Morikawa, the timing couldn't be more interesting. On one hand, he's playing the best golf of his life, a win at Pebble Beach, a T7 at Riviera, a solo 5th at Bay Hill. He's climbed to #1 in the FedEx Cup standings and looks every bit the contender he was when he burst onto the scene with 2 majors in his first 2 seasons. On the other hand, he's tinkering. New grips, new feel, new variables to master at the most demanding course in golf. The Augusta National test is unlike any other. It requires precision, creativity, and nerves of steel. Morikawa has all 3. His iron play is among the best in the world, 5th on tour in strokes gained approach. His putting, once a weakness, has steadily improved. His ball striking numbers are elite. But Augusta also demands something else: comfort. Players who succeed at the Masters are the ones who feel at home on those fairways, who know where to miss, who trust their equipment implicitly. Morikawa will be walking onto the first tee with grips that are still breaking in. "I'll be ready," Morikawa said confidently. "The grips are fine. I've got plenty of time to get comfortable. By the time we get to Augusta, it'll feel like I've been using them forever." His track record at Augusta is solid but not spectacular. A T19 in 2022, a T10 in 2023, a missed cut in 2024. Last year, he finished T15. He's yet to seriously contend for a green jacket, but this year feels different. The game is there, the confidence is there. The only question is whether the equipment will cooperate.
Fans will be watching every shot, analyzing every swing, wondering whether the grip change was genius or madness. Morikawa, as always, will trust his process. The work is done. Now it's just about playing. The Masters countdown has begun, and Collin Morikawa is ready.
The pencils are safe for another year. The grips are broken in, and Colin Morikawa heads into the most important stretch of the season sitting exactly where he wants to be, atop the FedEx Cup standings and playing the best golf of his life. But what does this all really mean? Not just for Morikawa, but for the broader landscape of professional golf as the Masters approaches. First, let's address the pencil confession. It went viral for a reason. In a sport where players are often guarded, polished, and media-trained within an inch of their lives, Morikawa's admission was refreshingly human. "I take their pencils every year," he said with a grin that suggested he knew exactly how ridiculous it sounded. "They have gone to longer pencils, so now I'm screwed." It's a small moment, but it reveals something essential about Morikawa's personality. He's a creature of habit, of feel, of the tiny details that most people never notice. The same attention to detail that leads him to swipe pencils from Augusta is the same attention that makes him one of the best iron players in the world. It's the same obsession that led him to change the loft on every single one of his irons during the offseason, adding 2 degrees to generate more spin and better control. "I was not putting enough spin on my shots," Morikawa explained about that equipment change. "Spin is the most important thing to control. The best players control it. I talked to a few like Scotty or John who are really good at it. They know how to generate it." This is the Morikawa paradox. He's constantly tinkering, constantly searching for marginal gains, constantly tweaking things that most players would leave alone. And yet, he's also a creature of comfort who steals pencils because they feel right in his hand. The grip change falls somewhere in the middle of that spectrum. It was necessary, the old grips were discontinued, but it was also risky. Changing any piece of equipment 3 weeks before the Masters is the kind of move that could backfire spectacularly. But Morikawa has never been afraid of risk. He's been through the wilderness, the winless seasons, the questions about his putting, the frustration of close calls that turned into near misses. At Pebble Beach, he finally broke through, ending an 848-day drought in dramatic fashion. And according to those who watched him closely, the victory revealed a changed man. He looked more humble. In victory, he looked grateful. And more than anything, he looked happy, Nick Doherty observed on the Sky Sports podcast. He has looked a bit glum. He beats himself up, self-professed, gives himself a hard time. The old Morikawa would have immediately looked ahead, focused on the next goal, refused to enjoy the moment. The new Morikawa, the one who's expecting his first child later this year, seems to have found a different perspective. He's still obsessive about his craft, that will never change, but he's also learning to appreciate the journey. I think just overall mindset, I've been a lot happier is not the right word, but just in a lot better of a headspace to trust my golf game, Morikawa said at Bay Hill. "I put in a lot of work over the offseason to get there, a lot of work into the body to make sure I could go and hit those shots and execute those shots." The results speak for themselves. He's climbed to number 1 in the FedEx Cup standings with a win and 2 top 10s in signature events. He's gained nearly 7 strokes on the field with his irons at Pebble Beach, numbers that border on absurd. He's playing better now, statistically, than he did when he won his 2 major championships in 2020 and 2021. "I would say I'm still a much better golfer now, just because I've learned a lot more, and I think I know how to just manage myself," Morikawa said recently. That's a terrifying thought for the rest of the field. A better version of Colin Morikawa, with better putting, better course management, and the same elite iron play, is exactly the kind of player who can win multiple majors in a single season. The Masters awaits. Augusta National, with its pristine fairways and treacherous greens, has always been a course that rewards precision over power. Colin's iron game is perfectly suited for the test.
His putting, once a weakness, is now merely average, and average putting at Augusta is enough when you're hitting approach shots closer than anyone else. Johnson Wagner, speaking on CBS, put it simply, "I think Colin can win on any golf course with his iron play." The pencils are stolen, the grips are changed, the body is healthy, the mindset is right. Colin Morikawa has put himself in position to do something special. Now he just has to go do it. For more coverage of the biggest stories in golf, subscribe and hit the notification bell.